Hi friends, welcome to lesson 4 of Too Good for Drugs. I'm Miss Larkin. All right, let's review what we talked about last time. Last time we talked about managing our emotions and the importance of doing that to help we can make good decisions, because if we have big feelings, it's hard to navigate through making a good decision. Remember, there were 3 feelings we wanted to make sure we paid extra special attention to when we manage our feelings: anger, sadness, and happiness, because those 3 can tend to get away from us the easiest. Today, we're going to talk about communication. It's important that when we have feelings, we learn how to communicate them effectively. That's so that everyone kind of knows what's happening with us. Communication is sending and receiving information between 2 or more people so the message is understood. And we communicate in lots of different ways. We communicate through talking, like I'm talking to you right now. We communicate through videos and FaceTime, through texts, emails, writing a note. There's lots of different ways that we communicate with each other. When we're talking about communication, it takes at least 2 people. It takes a speaker, in this case that would be me, and a listener, and that would be you. 2 people at least, a speaker and a listener. So let's look at some examples. If I call you on the phone and leave you a voicemail, but you don't listen to that voicemail, is that communication? Nope. Because you don't know what I said. I just kind of talked into the air and nobody really heard it. Now, if you listened to that voicemail, then we would have communicated because you would have heard me and you would have listened. What about if somebody talks to you in a language that you don't understand? Are you communicating then? Not really. Maybe you could pick up on some ways that they talk with like their body language or their facial expressions, but it's really not communication because you don't totally understand what's happening because they speak a totally different language than you do. When I talk about body language and facial expressions, we call those things nonverbal communication. They're ways that we can communicate with people that aren't using words. And sometimes we think that that means sign language. But remember, sign language uses words, just like text and email uses words, even though they're not spoken. Nonverbal communication, what we're talking about, is the communication that I make with the faces that I make and the way that I stand and hold myself. If I did this, what do you think that means? If you said, I don't know, you're totally right. What if I did this? You would know that that means great job. If I did this, you know that that means stop. And what if I did this? That means I'm thinking. All those are different ways that I can communicate with my body and my face, and not just my words. It's important that I learn to pay attention to these nonverbal cues when I'm talking and communicating with people. Okay, friends, so now what I'd like you to do is follow along on your worksheet, because we're going to talk about 3 different communication styles. Our first style is passive. Somebody who's passive has a soft tone of voice, a fearful facial expression. They tend to look away, and they also have a timid body language. So they might look something like this. The next person is an aggressive communicator. An aggressive communicator has a loud tone of voice, an angry facial expression, glaring eye contact, and intense body language. So they might look something like this. And then we have an assertive communicator. An assertive communicator has a firm tone of voice, a calm facial expression, looks the person in the eye, and has a confident body language. And they might look something like this. Which one of those 3 styles, passive, aggressive, or assertive, do you think is the most effective way to communicate your feelings and other things to the people around you? If you said assertive, you're totally right. When we're an assertive communicator, what happens is we show the other person that we're respectful of them by listening and keeping eye contact. We tend to ask good questions and we pay attention. And we're not mean or bossy, but we're able to ask for what it is that we need from them. So we talked about the speaker, passive, aggressive, and assertive. We know that being an assertive speaker is the most effective way to share what we're feeling. We also want to make sure that we pay attention to how we are a listener, because that's the other part of communication. And there's really usually 2 kinds of listeners. There's an active listener, and then there's a distracted listener. And you'll see them listed on your worksheet. An active listener maintains eye contact, leans towards the speaker, focuses on what the speaker is saying, repeats what the speaker is saying, asks clarifying questions, and ignores distractions. A distracted listener interrupts the speaker, avoids eye contact, turns away from the speaker, focuses on something else, thinks about what to say, and is easily distracted. So when we're being an active listener, we want to make sure that we're keeping eye contact, asking good questions, and making sure that we're repeating back things to make sure that we understand them well. Now we're going to listen to a story called Captain Goldsworthy and the Treasure Map. In this story, we're going to catch up with Captain Goldsworthy and his crew of pirates as they set off to find buried treasure. Captain Goldsworthy is an assertive speaker. We learned that's the most effective way to be. But he's having a hard time communicating his instructions. It seems that some of the members of his crew are not active listeners. See if you can figure out who the active listeners are and who the distracted listeners are. But before we start, we're going to review a couple of pirate terms so we all know what's going on in the story. Our first term is booty. Booty means stolen treasure. A matey is a friend. Me hearties is a friendly way to address my friends. And blimey is an exclamation of surprise. Okay, follow along on your worksheets as we read this story. Captain Goldsworthy and his pirate crew had sailed the 7 seas in search of a deserted island with buried treasure. As their ship finally neared land, tragedy struck. Captain Goldsworthy had solved the mystery of the treasure map, but there wasn't much time to share it. Listen closely to discover which of Captain Goldsworthy's pirates went on to find the booty. Arr! We've been hit, mateys. A great grand sea beast, the mother of all whales, has slammed our ship. Ahoy! There be land just ahead. Shiver me timbers, she's a sinking fast. In case I don't make it, me hearties, I've solved the map's mystery to find in the buried treasure. Gather close to listen. The crew gathered around Captain Goldsworthy. Edward Ninnies leaned in to listen and looked directly into the captain's eyes, even the patched one. You walk 10 paces north from the shore through the coconut palms, and then I once stubbed me toe on a coconut. Just then, Scully Drake started looking for the crackers. Blimey, barnacles, has anyone fed the parrot? Captain, you say 10 paces north through the palm trees, and then go 6 paces east towards Crossbone Cove. Ahoy! There be a box of crackers floating out in the sea. Finally, you want to go 3 paces past Pineapple Rock, and I once had a jewel that looked like a pineapple. Arg, scallywags, are you even listening? Captain, what happens next? The treasure is buried at the base of Maroon Mountain, 6 paces west of Peg Leg Bay. Captain Goldsworthy's crew swam ashore, but only one pirate found the buried treasure. Okay, I want you to take 5 minutes and write down 2 listening characteristics that each pirate demonstrated. I want you to use that list that's above on that worksheet that shows us our active and distracted listening. And then I would also like you to write down how you think that Captain Goldsworthy would have felt the way that each pirate listened to him. And then finally, put a check mark next to the pirate that demonstrated active listening skills, because that means they're the pirate that found the treasure. Take your 5 minutes and we'll talk again soon. All right, let's take a look at our first pirate, Edward Ninnies. Edward showed eye contact. He leaned in to listen. He repeated directions. He asked questions, and he ignored a lot of the distractions that were happening around him. Now, Scully Drake. Scully was focused on those crackers a lot, looked away, and was easily distracted. And finally, Peggy Scar. Peggy interrupted a lot and talked about herself. She always was interrupting and talking about the coconut that she stubbed her toe on or the pineapple jewel that she had before. Like, come on, Peggy, we're not interested right now. The ship is sinking. Let's take a look and see how these listeners affected the feelings of the speaker, Captain Goldsworthy. So look at the way that Edward listened to the captain. The captain probably felt pretty respected and cared about because Edward was paying attention and being attentive to what the captain was saying. Scully Drake, the captain probably felt ignored and disrespected and unimportant because Scully couldn't pay attention. He was always looking at other stuff and trying to feed the parrot, and the parrot didn't even say he was hungry. And then Peggy Scar, the captain probably felt frustrated and annoyed because she kept interrupting him and talking about things that didn't matter right then. So which one of these three pirates was the active listener and found the treasure? If you checked off Edward Ninnies, you're correct. Congratulations, Smarty Pants. You're amazing. Let's review. So being a good communicator means two things. One, that we're an assertive speaker. So that means that we're willing to say the things that we mean, but not say them mean. We're respectful and calm, but we're certain about what we're saying. And we do it with a firm tone of voice, but not an angry or aggressive one. And the other part of that is to be an active listener. That means we look the speaker in the eye, we ask questions, we repeat things back, and we maintain eye contact. So when we're communicating with people, we want to try to make sure that we're an assertive speaker and an active listener. I'll see you back here for lesson number 5. Bye, friends.